All right, welcome everybody. If you can jump on the Nearpod with me, that'd be great. But I'll just introduce myself. I know this is lesson 2, but we didn't have a Monday last week, so I sent out a recording to everyone. I'll just introduce myself. If you haven't had me before, my name is Mr. Hancock. I teach quite a few classes here, probably about 8 different courses at Utah Virtual. So this class is going to be personal finance. I've been teaching it for quite a while. Yeah, but it's all right. You'll like my classes, I hope. Has anybody had classes with me before? Or is this your first one? Yeah, maybe one. Driver's ed. Okay, I do teach driver's ed. Correct. We got geography, criminal justice. What else? Driver's ed. Oh, there's a lot of them. Teaching as a profession. Maybe just 2. Oh yeah, a PE class. I've been teaching a PE class recently. So, but it's all good. You'll have me quite a bit probably. Anyways, a couple things here, just so you know, this lesson is being recorded for learning or for learning purposes, remembering purposes. As we go throughout the Nearpod here, and hopefully more people can jump on it. I'm going to put it right in the chat again. Just make sure you're following along the Nearpod lesson. If you're not able to jump on, just watch and stuff and use the chat tool, but make sure we do that respectfully and appropriately. Then also responding to questions and instruction the first time as we're trying to get through everything here. Before I jump to what we're doing today, let me just run through the course with you. Personal finance, it's set up a little bit differently than some of my other classes. It is all just kind of quiz competency based here. The front page on the announcements, I always post the course recordings. If you go to plan, you're going to kind of see where we are at. We'll have class every Monday. Let me go to the next month here because it'll be easier. See what's coming up. Class every Monday at 1:15. And then you just have like these quizzes that are due. I'll show you how they work. And then next week we have spring break, and we just go so on and so forth. If you are graduating this year, so like at the end of May, or you are what we call a part-time student or SOAP student, you need to be finished by like the first week in May. Okay. So you'll just need to hurry and finish things up. Everything is opened up to you. So if you'd like to go as fast as you want, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay. So let me just kind of roll through here. So there's 5 different units. This is getting slow coming up. There we go. There's 5 different units. And basically there's just quizzes in each. So for the first week, last week, is that you watch a video. So let me show you what the videos look like. And then you just answer a quiz in regards to it, okay? And as you can see here, you have the due date. So this was due last Friday. And then we have Module 3 and Module 4 that are due on the 31st. And so that goes into Unit 2. But the videos, they look like this. You just play them. You're going to watch them. And then the quizzes are going to look like this. There's they vary in how many questions they have, but it's fairly quick, easy process. See, this has 5 questions. If you don't get the score you like, I have it set up so you can do as many times as you like, okay? So I have some students that are already like halfway through the class. So if that's something that you want to do, that'd be great. Particularly by the end of school, like the end of school is getting pretty close, if you can believe that. I know we're just getting into spring break, but before you know it, it's going to be here. So if you have some time, bust all these out and get them done. Okay. So All right, so what we're going to do today, we're going to go over a couple things. So given quizzes in the OLS, students will accurately answer multiple choice questions about setting goals. Goals affect personal finance planning and identify sources of income, those specific employee skills with 80% accuracy across one trial. Another thing we're going to do today is we're going to look at what's called a cost of living calculator. So have any guys thought about moving before? Me? I would like to get out of the snow. I actually have a place I go chill at sometimes that's a lot warmer than here. One thing you want to make sure is that like whatever you make is going to be equivalent to what you can live down there, right? Your standard of life. So because if we were to move to Hawaii, right, and we're living in a really nice house here, we're probably going to live in a shack in Hawaii, right? Depending on your income level. So when you're looking at that, you want to look at what's called cost of living. And we're going to go over that today and talk about it. So pretty easy stuff. All right. So where should we be in the course? We already talked about that. Okay. First thing we're going to do, we're going to watch this little video and then we're going to talk about it.
A financial planning process involves figuring out where you'd like to be, where you are, and how to go from here to there. More formally, a financial planning process means the following: defining goals, assessing the current situation, identifying choices, evaluating choices, choosing, assessing the resulting situation, redefining goals, identifying new choices, evaluating new choices, choosing, and assessing the resulting situation over and over again. Personal circumstances change and the economy changes, so your plans must be flexible enough to adapt to those changes, yet be steady enough to eventually achieve long-term goals. Defining goals. Figuring out where you want to go is a process of defining goals. You have shorter-term 1 to 2 years, intermediate 2 to 10 years, and longer-term goals that are quite realistic, and goals that are more wishful. Setting goals is a skill that usually improves with experience. According to a popular model, to be truly useful, goals must be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely, or SMART.
All right, so somebody said there's no sound. Does nobody have sound? Oh, there is sound. Some people say they have sound. Maybe try to look at your different computer things to see if it's something on your end, because it sounds like there is sound for others. If not, you'll probably have to watch it. It's in the video or in the course, or I'll have this video recorded.
Or SMART. Short-term goals include things like saving money in an emergency fund, increasing savings, and reducing debt. Intermediate goals include things like saving for a down payment on a house, saving to buy a car with cash, paying off student loan debt, or saving for a big trip or purchase. Long-term goals include saving for retirement, paying off a house, and saving for college for your children or grandchildren. Goals change over time, and certainly over a lifetime. Whatever your goals, however, life is complicated and risky, and having a plan and a method to reach your goals increases the odds of doing so. For example, after graduating from college, Alice has an immediate focus on earning income to provide for living expenses and debt from student loan obligations. Within the next decade, she foresees having a family. If so, she will want to purchase a house and perhaps start saving for her children's educations. Her income will have to provide for her increased expenses and also generate a surplus that can be saved to accumulate these assets. In the long term, she will want to be able to retire and derive all her income from her accumulated assets, and perhaps travel around the world in a sailboat. She will have to have accumulated enough assets to provide for her retirement income and for the travel.
All right. So your goals that you have and you want to do, they all need to be backed up so you can financially do them, right? Like I love that goal of, you know, wanting to, when you retire, go set up and sell around in a sailboat, right? I mean, that sounds awesome. So, but you need to be able to financially plan for that. Okay. So let's talk about it real quick. What are some goals that you have set for yourself? Okay. Save a percentage of your income. I like that, right? So if you can always put away maybe like 10% of all your paychecks and just put it and pay yourself first, it's super important. Okay. What are some other goals that you maybe have thought about? And if you can't get on the Nearpod, you can throw them in the chat too. Save up for future rent. Okay. Move into an apartment with a friends for college, right? That's all costs a bunch of money. Yep. I have little things that I'm saving up for. So I'm going to be, I think I need to get a new car pretty soon. So I'm putting some money aside for that. Have a certain amount of money and categories for like emergencies. Oh, sorry. For example, for bills, save, emergencies, etc. Yep. So in there, I mean, when you're looking at saving, you should probably have a good, honestly, eventually, you know, have a good 3 to 6 months worth of emergency fund that you could live without working for 3 to 6 months, right? Okay, save up for hobby equipment. Awesome. Okay. And we really got to look at there saying, okay, what are my wants and what are my needs? And sometimes you have to really skimp on some things, right? Like sometimes you may not be able to eat out, or sometimes you may have to do this, right? So being able to get that money and put it into right places. And some of the things we're going to be talking about is in this class is being able to find a profession and make yourself marketable enough that you have the income where you can do all these things, right? That you're not just living paycheck to paycheck. Rather, you have 3 to 6 months of savings. You're saving for retirement. You're saving for other things you'd like to do. And then you're financially stable, and a lot of life stresses don't get in the way, right? To move out of state when I'm 18. Okay. Right. So we'll talk about that a little bit. Moving, right? As I talked about when we were talking about cost of living. So that's going to be something you'll want to look at when we get there. So, okay. Any other things you guys have for yourself? Cool. All right. Let's move to the next one. What are short-term financial goals do you have? Okay. Oh, I guess I don't know why I had that on there. Anyways, you got short-term goals and you have long-term goals. Okay. We'll talk about that because this is going to go into cost of living. But short-term goals are something like getting an emergency fund. So most of the research says if you can get about $1,000 first off to get an emergency fund, that's pretty good, right? So if something that comes up like, for example, your tire blows on your car, right? You can dip into that emergency fund and then you can replace it. You're not stuck and you're putting it on the dreaded don't get them if you can't do it credit card, right? I met with a gentleman not too long ago, made really crazy mistakes and put, you know, a bunch of money on a credit card, and he was just paying the minimum, and it would take him 20 years to pay off that. And he was paying like 27% in interest, and he would have never done it. So I helped him figure out a way to get those funds and put it into a lower interest loan that he could help and pay off. But you just don't want to get yourself into that portion right away, right? You want to be able to sustain yourself of what you are making, and just be stable that way. A lot less stress in life when you can do that. Okay, so that should be some of your short-term things that you want to do. Okay, let's talk about this.
is the cost of living? Cost of living is the amount of money needed to sustain a certain level of living, including basic expenses such as housing, food, taxes, and healthcare. Cost of living is often used to compare how expensive it is to live in one city versus another. Cost of living is tied to wages, as salary levels are measured against expenses required to maintain a basic standard of living throughout specific geographic regions. Cost of living can be a significant factor in the personal wealth accumulation because a smaller salary can go further in a city where it doesn't cost a lot to get by, while a large salary can seem insufficient in an expensive city. According to Mercer's 2015 Cost of Living Survey, cities with the highest cost of living standards included Tokyo, Osaka, Moscow, Geneva, Hong Kong, Zurich, Copenhagen, and New York City. U.S. cities with a high cost of living as of 2015 included Honolulu, Los Angeles, Washington, D.C., and San Francisco. A cost of living index compares the cost of living in a major city as compared to the corresponding metropolitan area. The index incorporates the expense of various components that comprise basic human needs, creating an aggregate measure to which new entrants into the workforce may refer. As college graduates weigh employment alternatives and currently employed job seekers consider relocation, the index provides an informative snapshot of rental, transportation, and grocery costs. In 2016, using New York City as a benchmark for other U.S. cities, San Francisco maintains the highest cost of living in the Americas. Rental costs in San Francisco are about 3% higher than in New York, and food prices sit 22% above corresponding levels found in New York. By contrast, the citizens of Reno, Nevada enjoy a cost of living approximately 43% below that of New York residents when analyzing basic expenses on an aggregate basis. For a family with 2 adults and 2 children, the average cost of living in the United States hovered around $65,000 per year in 2015. The figure does exclude discretionary spending on non-essential goods and services, such as leisure, entertainment, and luxury items. The debate over raising the U.S. federal minimum wage is deeply rooted in the disparity between the lowest wage allowed by law and the earnings needed to maintain an adequate cost of living. Proponents of a minimum wage hike found that productivity levels of workers increased since 1968 as unequally correlated to the minimum hourly rate of pay in 2012. As the minimum wage once tracked the increase in productivity, the divergence between earnings and worker efficiency have reached historically disproportionate levels. By contrast, opponents of a minimum wage increase contend that a raise could spur higher consumer prices as employers offset rising labor costs.
All right. So she had a lot of big words in there. But what it basically means is you have an average cost of living, okay? And so I just put that in the chat there that you guys can take a look at, okay? So for example, let's put 65,000 because that's what they said in the thing, that a family of 4, right? So parents and 2 kids. If they were to live, for example, in Salt Lake City, okay, and here's just some things here. Now, I want you guys to play around with this a little bit because I'm going to ask you on the next one. We talked about people wanting to move, right? But let's say you had $65,000. How much to have the same quality of life that you have in Utah right now? What would it take in other cities? So, for example, in San Francisco, to have the same quality of life, you'd have to make almost 114,000. Okay, so moving from Salt Lake to San Francisco. LA or Long Beach, you'd have to make almost 100,000, 75,000. So it's more to live in some things. New York City, you'd have to make 150,000 to have the same quality of life that you were living right now at $65,000 per year. Okay. Boston, that. So for example, one of the things you can do, say, never mind, you're going to stay here. Well, it depends on where you want to live, right? So the cost of living is about average in Utah. Okay. So let's consider this. Does anybody have a place they want to throw in the chat that they'd like to live? And we can kind of look at it. See what it says. San Diego. Okay. Now I'm going to tell you right now, California, the cost of living is quite a bit higher. Okay. So you have 65,000. You'd have to have the same quality of life. You have to make about almost $90,000. Okay. The majority of what's higher is housing. Okay. So the median house price in Utah, which is still insane right now, over $500,000 for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house in Utah, in Salt Lake City. You'd be paying about $1 million, okay, in San Diego. Okay. Rent is about $1,500 in Salt Lake. They said you can find it. You're about almost $3,000 there. I've researched rent and stuff down there quite a bit, and it's not cheap for sure. Yeah, exactly. Transportation is going to be higher too. Okay. Per gallon, you're about $5 in San Diego, about $3.65 in Salt Lake right now. Food costs. A dozen eggs is about $2. You're about $3.50. So everything's a little bit higher there. Dang, your quarter pounder with cheese, almost over $1 more. What's going on? Healthcare costs are higher too. Okay. All right. Let me tell you a place if you're looking to get somewhere. Let's look at Tennessee. Tennessee is quite a bit actually cheaper. Chattanooga. Okay. Now we're looking at some lower stuff. Okay. So let's say we want to move to Tennessee, 65,000, you're about $10,000 less that you'd have to make. Home prices, you can see, are quite a bit cheaper, 22% cheaper. Food costs are about the same. Transportation's lower. Lower on that, lower on entertainment costs, lower on healthcare. Okay. I like Florida area. Let's see here. We're going to go Florida. But if you stay out of the big places, maybe Orlando. Anybody but like Disney World, huh? It's about the same. So if you wanted to move there, it'd be about the same, maybe a little bit cheaper. Okay. All right. So I hope you're playing around with this real quick, because that's going to be my next question. Oh, just about the exact same entertainment costs. A little bit lower on housing. Okay, so my question for you here in the Nearpod is, where did you want to move to, and was the cost higher or lower? I want to see where some of you guys want to move. I was looking at some foreign ones too, because I think it'd be fun to like live somewhere outside the United States. But of course, like, quality is not always the best when you're going outside the United States. LA, and it costs more. Okay. San Diego, much higher. Yes, a lot. That's why a lot of people are moving out of there. And we're going to actually have a converse. Well, no, actually, that's in my geography class. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I teach too many things. But in my geography class, we talk about migration and why people move from one place to another. And cost is that. How many classes do I teach? I think about 8 during the school year, 8 different ones. So, yeah. Yeah, that is quite a bit. Great Falls, much more expensive. Great Falls, is that Michigan? Great Falls, Michigan, is that? That's kind of interesting. Hawaii is really a lot higher too. those like places, oh, it's in Montana? I didn't realize Montana would be higher. Maybe it's harder to get some things. Let me look here. MT, Montana. Great Falls. Oh, it's actually lower. So you go from 65,000 to that. Housing prices is 37% lower. That's the biggest cost, is like home prices is kind of hard. Healthcare is higher there though. Very good. Okay. Well, that gives you some ideas, like when you're thinking about possibly moving a place, and even within the state. Well, let me just go back to here. If we were to go to Salt Lake, and then let me see what other places they have in Utah. I believe Cedar City is cheaper, right? So it's cheaper to live in places like Cedar City, or places that are a little bit out there, rather than in bigger cities sometimes. You know, I live in Ogden. Let me see how much cheaper that is. I don't think it's a lot cheaper. It's a little bit cheaper. You can see about 5% or 8% lower in Ogden than it is in Salt Lake. And so you got to kind of look at those kind of things, but then you got to think, how far away is it from work? How far away? So there's a lot of things to consider when you're looking at it there. So, okay. So this week's thing real quick, let me just run back here. You guys need to get through quizzes 8 to, I don't know why it's in that, 8 to 11, 12, 8 to 13, or 8 to 14, 8 to 14, which if we look in the modules here, it's module 1 less, or say module 3, and then module 4 and 5. So if you can get through those this week, that will keep you on track. If you want to go faster, please feel free to do. But that's all I got for you today. I'll stick around if you have any more questions, but appreciate everybody coming. Most classes will be about a half hour, just kind of like this. So just to make you aware to what to expect. So if you know what to do, you guys can take off. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later. Appreciate it.